Hello and welcome. You're watching Newsx with me, Devika Chopra. 26 years ago, on the 27th of December 1999, India had to release three men, Ahmad Omar Saeed Sheikh, Mushtaq Ahmad Zarkar and Masood Azhar in exchange for 190 hostages. The hostages had been in Kandahar for 3 days in flight number IC814, which was hijacked by terrorists of the Harkat-ul-Mujahideen. Masood Azhar, the founder of the Jaish-e-Mohammed, since then has been the mastermind of the 2001 Parliament attack, the 2002 murder of Daniel Pearl, the 2008 Mumbai terror attacks, the 2016 Pathankot attack, and the 2019 Pulwama terror attack. The plans of all these terror attacks and hijacks was hatched at the Bahawalpur headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. This was the exact place where Indian forces have now hit with a hammer missile in Operation Sindoor. One of the masterminds of the hijack, Abdul Rauf Asghar, brother of Masood Azhar, has been eliminated in this strike. Operation Sindoor has not just served justice for Pahalgam, but also to those who had faced these terrorists in the terrifying nights on the IC814. Today, viewers, on the broadcast, we have several of such survivors who join us to tell us what this means for them. I have with me Mr. Sanjay Dubey. Mr. Dubey and his wife were both survivors of IC814. I also have with me Mr. Anil Sharma, the chief flight attendant of IC814, and Dr. Anita Joshi joining me from Dehradun. She is also a survivor. We'll also in just a short while be joined by Mr. Chandar Prakash Chhabra, one more survivor of the flight. Let me begin this conversation with Mr. Anil Sharma, who was the chief flight attendant of IC814. Mr. Sharma, thank you for speaking to Newsx. I want to begin by asking you, when you learnt of the news that one of the masterminds of the IC814 hijacking had been eliminated in Operation Sindoor, what were your first thoughts, sir?
Good evening to you, ma'am, and good evening to all your listeners, viewers, wherever they might be. To be honest, when I first heard news about the elimination of the mastermind, I thought there was some kind of a mix-up, and we hadn't got the exact news. Because since 1999, when the hijack ended, there have been several incidents, where we've heard news about. We had, I believe, of course, I've got to believe because the news reports that a couple of the hijackers were shot dead. The youngest one, Bhola, I forget his actual name, he was eliminated in Karachi by unknown men, and then there was another hijacker who also met the same fate. But these were unverified, because they've come from across the border. And this time also I felt maybe, it's just speculation. But then once we had authorized information coming in, then there was definitely a sense of relief, and it was a huge surprise that our forces had achieved what seemed an impregnable fortress within which the Masood Azhar and his family were living. And hats off to the people who planned it, and certainly it's like giving a very clear signal that this is now the new India, as everyone says and believes, that it can strike deep inside Pakistan and get to the root of the, those conspiracies, not just the handlers overground or those. Of course, they also need to be taught a lesson that India can't be taken lightly. So there was a huge sense of relief that I felt about that.
And Mr. Sharma, if just for the benefit of our viewers, if you could perhaps shed some light on what's it been like over these years. Like you said that over time you did hear news of one or the other terrorists getting eliminated in some operation or some sort of an incident in Pakistan. But what's it been like knowing all these years that the mastermind was still roaming free and plotting more and more terror attacks?
See, I don't need to go back. I mean, it's known to everybody that there was a huge controversy surrounding the resolution of this hijack. People were blaming the then government for releasing three dead terrorists. And so there have been mixed feelings. I have had a personal opinion about that. I've felt, as you mentioned earlier in the introduction, that they had to exchange for all the there were 190 hostages to begin with. Some were released at Al Minat, Dubai, and the rest of us got released on 31st of December. And but there was, a section of Indian public believed that soldiers die, and it's not fair that the government let release three dead terrorists. And soon enough, India faced, you know, uh, uh, an attack of sorts, at various intervals. As you mentioned, the Parliament attack, then maybe 26/11. They were all, of course, because it's as we've seen now recently, after or during Operation Sindoor, that they're all connected in one way or the other to the Pakistan Army and the ISI. And one was living with that kind of a guilt. As I said, I was clear that the government couldn't have allowed a carnage, a massacre of 150 plus hostages, which were on board IC814 at Kandahar. And with Taliban in command, we had very little choice. Even if the terrorists would have let us go, probably Taliban wouldn't have. So one has always lived with some sense of guilt. And I also remember having read an article where the author had, it was one of the newspapers. He said that Maulana Masood Azhar would have got away even without Kandahar. So now this is the state of affairs. We had a very weak case against him, and but to have let him go created a wave of controversy, and then these attacks. Uh, so I think it was kind of balancing, in my mind, that okay, he's caused enough damage and he needs to be, dealt with, eliminated somehow. And I think we've gotten fairly close to that.
Absolutely. At the same time, Mr. Anil Sharma, so you have seen then first hand what the brutality of these terrorists truly entails. I want to understand from you, when the Prime Minister then stands before the nation and says that henceforth any act of terrorism will be considered an act of war, what does that make you feel?
It makes me feel very good, to put it very simply. Because when you're in a war situation, you take the case of Israel, you take other countries which have been at the receiving end of these kind of conspiracies, and these are global conspiracies, mind you. What happened to Israel and what's happened to us, or been happening over the years, doesn't get hashed in a small room somewhere. There are people who support. We've seen some countries come out in support of Pakistan, despite knowing that a fair amount of terrorists, why fair amount? In fact, almost all terror-related incidents originate or are hashed in Pakistan. So I would say that yes, it makes me feel very proud as an Indian, and I mean, zero tolerance for any kind of act of terror. And why not? If those people are going to prick you every now and then, they are going to, you know, um, show a thumb to you when after committing this kind of a thing, and then there is no guarantee that it will stop after one incident. I mean, people in I hate to say it, but local people in Kashmir, some local people, I would say, have arranged this deadly Pahalgam massacre. So for somebody, the Prime Minister, of course, is the head of the nation. He gives a direction to the forces. He and his team draw a policy about dealing with it. So when he stands and says, I think it's meant to be taken very seriously, not just by citizens of India, but also people who have had a evil eye uh, on a nation which is growing, developing, prospering.
And Mr. Sharma, after Operation Sindoor, are you hopeful somewhere that people like Masood Azhar will finally be brought to justice? Does it give you some hope, given that, as I just mentioned, that India has now changed its policy on terrorism going forward? We have a new, what we're calling a new doctrine on terrorism. So does that give you some hope that finally terrorist masterminds like Masood Azhar could possibly be brought to justice?
Certainly, ma'am. No two ways about it, because of course, Pakistan is going to give him even greater security, and through a cordon of fortification around him. But when somebody's time is up, and I'm sure people now this bears out, the fact that they knew that Bahawalpur, where Bahawalpur is, and which part of Bahawalpur that mosque or whatever the residence of the other family was located in. So they have information. People have been saying, where was the intelligence? Where was it? It's not. When we got hijacked and we had a briefing with the intelligence bureau people, they said what you often get to hear, that we've got to be 99% of the time all right. They have to be winning just 1%. So it's not going to be an easy task, but I have somehow something in my mind says that it's going to happen sooner or later.
Okay, Mr. Sharma, thank you so much for joining us on Newsx with that perspective. Also joining me, viewers, is Dr. Anita Joshi. She's also a survivor of the IC814 hijacking. Dr. Joshi, thank you, ma'am, for speaking to Newsx. I'm not a proponent of wanting to visit bad memories over and over again. However, unfortunately, I do have to ask you, when you heard the news that the mastermind of the hijacking that you've survived has finally been eliminated by India, what were the emotions that ran through you?
Good evening everybody. Peace at heart and mind, but it's just the beginning. Terrorists should know that they cannot walk from their heinous crime, as I think they should not be called humans.
Okay. Dr. Joshi, I want to understand from you, ma'am, and if you can perhaps help explain to our viewers, what do you remember, ma'am, of the hijacking?
Ma'am, I had gone to attend a conference in Kathmandu, and we were coming back from there. Suddenly they started shouting that the plane has been hijacked. It's very tough to digest. It's impossible.
So does that
And I'll add one thing.
Yes, Dr. Joshi, but does realizing that now the person who was the mastermind, he's been eliminated, does that somewhere give you some sort of relief over certain emotions that you may have been carrying with you over the years?
Definitely. We can't bring back the lost souls, but huge respect to our Prime Minister and our forces for taking bold initiative against terrorism.
So when the Prime Minister, ma'am, says today that India's position on terrorism has changed, that any act of terrorism will be considered an act of war against India, are you then hopeful that right now Rauf Asghar has been eliminated, perhaps the next target will be Masood Azhar?
very positive about this. But we never knew that the country has to pay such a big cost to save our lives. I wish the action should have been taken in Amritsar so that the future terrorist attack would have been prevented. If
Absolutely.
the policy of zero tolerance negotiation was adapted at that time against the terrorism, this could have set an example about Indian against such activities.
Okay. All right. Dr. Joshi, thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us on the broadcast. I also have with me Mr. Sanjay Dubey. As I mentioned earlier, Mr. Dubey and his wife are both survivors of the IC814 hijacking. Mr. Dubey, I want to begin by asking you the same question, sir. What went through your mind when you learnt that Rauf Asghar has been eliminated, the mastermind of the hijacking that you've survived?
Good evening, Devika. We feel proud. Whatever government has done, they have taken a right decision to eliminate all the terrorists. Now the mastermind has gone. I think whatever survivor are there, 2, 3, they should also go. And even whatever the team is there behind them, mastermind, everyone should go.
मिस दुबे, आर यू होपफुल? जब प्रधानमंत्री जी खड़े हुए थे और उन्होंने भारत के लोगों को और दुनिया के लोगों को, सर, व्हेन ही एक्सप्लेन्ड दैट देयर विल बी एब्सोल्युटली no tolerance for terrorism, in fact terrorism will be considered an act of war against India, does that make you hopeful when you say that there are survivors like Masood Azhar still who are terror masterminds being shielded by Pakistan? Does that somewhere give you some hope that a change in policy will finally bring such perpetrators to justice?
Yes, Devika. I'll say one thing, they are totally hardcore terrorists, well trained, without heart, and they know what they want to do. And I think our government is doing a very good job, and they are after them. And I think they will try to eliminate maximum terrorists.
Absolutely. And Ms. Dubey, what is then your larger message to the government, sir? What if you could speak to the government at this point in time, what would you like to say to the government?
See, whatever they are doing in last 10-15 years, at least they should improve some more intelligence, like Pahalgam has done, as they have able to reach Pahalgam. They should not. They should try to control the border, which they are doing in a good manner. But I think they should improve their intelligence sources also.
Okay, that's a fair enough point, sir. Lots of people have, of course, questioned why Pahalgam should have happened in the first place. But thank you for that perspective. I want to bring in Mr. Anil Sharma back in for a quick point. Mr. Sharma, I want to understand from you. We've always said that we've had a policy of zero tolerance towards terrorism. But this time around, when you saw that action was followed by words of the Prime Minister, that first there was a complete quietus after what had happened in Pahalgam, and the Prime Minister and of course several other ministers, they made statements. They said that there will be something extremely big that will happen, but we were all anticipating what that will be, and suddenly we saw over the course of 4 to 5 days, what military analysts are saying is that we've taught Pakistan the lesson of a lifetime. When you saw that for a change, action followed words, what hope does that give you for the future? Do you feel that somewhere India has genuinely now taken a strong position?
Yes, I'm convinced that we've now reached a position where we are able to call the shots and you know meet these people on our terms. Uh, you know, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. In fact, as you said, that we were also like everyone else, you know, waiting with a degree of anticipation. What would happen? Something big would happen. What would it be like? And when it happened, it truly took most of us by surprise. I mean, I was in Geneva that time, and you could see people, almost awestruck by the kind of. Initially, there was a denial, and people thought, there was some amount of exaggeration in what India had achieved. But as it got confirmed by, those disbelieving foreign correspondents and who always taken India very lightly, or found shall I say, holes in our security system, our projection as a growing power, then they sat up and took notice. And I think surely most of us were not aware that the kind of readiness we had, the kind of arms we were equipped with, could, as you mentioned, that it took, and the military experts are saying that we were able to teach Pakistan a lesson of a lifetime. I am entirely in agreement with that. As a layman, I mean, of course, forces deserve our huge respect, and salute each one of them who was involved in the operations. And later, when we saw the press briefings, and and all that added up and gave a great sense of not just relief, to address your question, yes, enormous hope as a citizen that we are in safe hands. And the fact is, these wars against terrorists can never be completely won. They'll swarm out of somewhere, they'll wriggle out of somewhere where you don't anticipate. Like Pahalgam, yes, one could say that wish intelligence had been able to anticipate that, or had been able to unravel the conspiracy that was being hatched. But sometimes it's easier said than done. I guess under the stewardship of Mr. Doval, Mr. Rajnath Singh, and of course at the very top, the Prime Minister, they have been aware of some country or the other trying to look at our neighbors, barring Nepal and Sri Lanka. Everyone seems to have a problem with us. So, as an Indian, I feel that finally we are able to tell them that, look, man, will not be taken lightly anymore.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir, for joining us on the broadcast. Meanwhile, also joining me at this point is Mr. Chandar Prakash Chhabra, who is one of the survivors of the IC814 hijack. Mr. Chhabra, I of course want to begin by asking you, sir, how do you feel that one of the hijackers of the IC814, Abdul Rauf Asghar, has been killed in Operation Sindoor?
बहुत अच्छा लगा, बहुत खुशी हुई ये सुन के कि हमें इंसाफ मिला है
जी,
इंसाफ देर से मिला है लेकिन बिल्कुल सही टाइम पे मिला।
एब्सोल्युटली। मिस्टर प्रकाश, आपसे ये भी समझना चाहेंगे, अगर आप हमारे दर्शकों को कुछ बता पाएं, व्हाट आर द मेमोरीज दैट यू हैव ऑफ द हाईजैकिंग, सर?
हम लोग काठमांडू गए हुए थे और आते वक्त जो सा है वो प्लेन हाईजैक हो गया। उसके बाद वो प्लेन को अमृतसर ले गए, लेकिन अमृतसर तक हम लोग खुश थे कि हम अपने देश में हैं और अपने एयरपोर्ट में हैं। लेकिन उसके बाद जब हमें पता लगा कि वो अमृतसर से भी लेके चले गए, तो नेचुरली है कि उस वक्त जो भी घट रहा था वो बहुत डरावना और वो बहुत ऐसे था, टेरर वाला।
जी, आपसे ये भी समझना चाहूँगी सर कि कहीं ना कहीं कोई फ्रस्ट्रेशन थी कि इंडिया जो टेररिस्ट हैं उनको पनिश नहीं कर पाया, बट इंस्टेड हमें मसूद अजहर जैसे लोगों को रिलीज़ करना पड़ा।
हाँ, ये अब गवर्नमेंट उस वक़्त के हालात को समझ सकती है कि किन मजबूरियों में ऐसा किया गया।
मिस्टर प्रकाश, आपसे ये भी समझना चाहूँगी कि अब प्रधानमंत्री जी ने ये कह दिया है कि इंडिया के खिलाफ कोई भी टेरर अटैक अब एक एक्ट ऑफ वॉर माना जाएगा और फोर्सफुली हम उसका रिस्पॉन्स देंगे। आपको इस चेंज ऑफ डॉक्ट्रिन और इस अनाउंसमेंट के बारे में कैसा लगा?
ये बिल्कुल सही घोषणा है और ऑपरेशन सिंदूर जो सा है वो पहले भी आज से 25 साल पहले एक बिटिया या बहन का सिंदूर उजाड़ा गया था और अब वो 26 के साथ हुआ है। तो ये ऑपरेशन सिंदूर बहुत ज़रूरी था और मोदी जी ने जो किया हम उनके साथ हैं।
एब्सोल्युटली। ऑन दैट नोट मिस्टर प्रकाश, आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। And I'd like to take a moment to once again thank all of our other guests who also joined us on the broadcast, starting with Mr. Anil Sharma, Chief Flight Attendant of IC814, Dr. Anita Joshi, survivor, and Mr. Sanjay Dubey, also a survivor. Thank you so much, viewers, for listening in. With that, we sip into a very quick break.